So I started the live stream a couple of minutes ago. I am just waiting to see if anybody else wants to join. I'm going to also post on the activity. Let me know if the stream is buffering a lot, if things aren't right. I apologize for the low quality cam that I have. It's just a laptop one. So I will do my best to show you what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I'm not a professional embroiderer. I only know the basics, but I thought this would be kind of fun just for us to sit down and do something cute. So I have mine, and you can lightly see it. I traced it with pencil because I have no idea where my actual like sewing washable markers are or washable pen is. So I just did it lightly with a pencil. So, and then I have my embroidery hoop. You absolutely don't have to have a hoop if you don't have one. It just tightens everything up and makes it a little bit easier. But if you don't have one, you can certainly still do embroidery. So, like I said in the activity, hopefully you got your fabric and you got your little cat face traced on here. So that's okay, you're late and without class material. After this is posted, you can certainly play it back again and again and again if you want to watch me. So, like I said in the activity, pick whatever colors that you wanted for your cat. I went with the colors that the pattern calls for: black, pink, and red. And so if you've never done embroidery or cross stitch before, a couple of the main things is that you don't want to make your thread super long. Often when you cut your thread and it's super long, it will twist and knot while you're working, and then you'll become more frustrated than you need to be. So go ahead and knot. Don't plan on doing like super long threads while you're doing it. So we're going to start with our black. The 2 stitches that are in this one are the back stitch and the satin stitch. And so I'll go ahead and cut this, the number of threads. So if you don't know anything about threads either, threads usually come with 6 strands all twisted together. Oftentimes when you're doing embroidery or cross stitch, you don't use all 6 strands, you actually split them out. So actually, like, you can see they're starting to split out like this. And so this one says to use 2 strands. So you split out your 2 strands, split them up. Try to be gentle with it, otherwise it twists. Go ahead and there's a couple of schools of thought for embroidery as well. Embroidery and cross stitch and all that. One thought is to knot the end, which I think is what I'm going to do for this. For cross stitch, I don't normally knot the end, but for this one, I'm going to knot the end. So make a little knot in the end. And I'm probably going to double up that knot just because I'm weird. And if anybody is a better embroiderer than I am, and you think this is wrong, let me know. Messed up that double knot, of course. It's going to be a huge double knot. There we go. All right, so, and now we will thread our needle. So you should have a little embroidery needle. Mine is a little bit more cross stitchy. It's a little more blunt, but it'll work for this. So go ahead and thread that on. So we're going to start with the back stitching, at least back stitching the outline, excuse me, on this. And so I'm going to start up here at the ears. So what I'm going to do for back stitching, so I am going to poke in the back here. You'll see coming out. It'll be nice and black, and that's why I knotted the end, so that it'll just stop there. And so what back stitching, the first stitch isn't a back stitch. You're just going to, whichever direction that you want to go, make a small stitch. Don't go super huge. If you go super huge, then you'll be able to play a little bit of guitar on your work. So there we go. Now, to start your back stitching, what you're going to do is you're actually going to go a stitch length. You're going to go a stitch length away from where you're at. So you can see I poked through the back about a stitch length away from where I ended the last one. I'm going to pull through there. And then I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to where I ended the last stitch. So you can see my needle is sticking back in where I ended that last stitch. See? And now I'm going to keep going there. So next on my line, I poked a little below my line. About a stitch length away. So I ended my stitch back here, about a stitch length away. My stitches are not consistent, by the way. And then I'm going to go back. Excuse my kids upstairs. And I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go right back in that hole where I ended the last one. So stitch length away, hook in the back, and then go back. That's why it's called back stitch. All right. So that's the back stitch, and the back stitch goes everything on your pattern, the outline of the ears, the circle of the face, the eyes, the little lip flaps, is that what it's called, lip flaps or whatever. That's all back stitching. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to back stitch around the ears and the whole face. What I would recommend then is we're going to do satin stitch, and I'm going to satin stitch inside the ears, in the little cheekies, and the nose is satin stitch as well. The back stitching of the whiskers, you want that to go on top of the satin stitch, so you see the whiskers coming out. So that should be one of our last things, is those whiskers. So we won't back stitch those whiskers anyway. But I'm going to keep going here. Okay. Listen to my kids. Is there anybody on the stream that has any questions? It's fairly easy if you've done anything like that before. I'm going around the top of his head, and I'll show you how it looks here in a minute. Try to get a few more stitches in there. My tracing wasn't done very well either, so it's going to be a little bit of a wonky cat. So here's what it's starting to look like, his ear up here. For mine, I'm actually going right over them. So unless I have a spot in which I had to fix what I was doing, I probably won't even have to get rid of them. If you used washable, there are some pens that are used for sewing and things like that. If you used one of those, I believe those you can either wash off or they disappear over time. I don't know if you can see, but as you can see here, you can see my tracing over here, but you really can't, it's a little blurry, but you really can't see on top of where I've gone. And honestly, I use the pencil so lightly, it's probably just gonna rub off as I go too. And so, oh boy, there we go. How's it going? Is there anybody out there actually working on one? It's baby food. And this is what happens when you're quarantined in your home and you have kids and a husband. So after I finish going around the ear here, I'll show you the satin stitch with the red inside the ear. I'll admit I'm not as great with the satin stitch. I mean, never mind, I'm good at everything. There are some people on the sub who are really good at embroidery too. I have seen some very fabulous embroidery posted. I am just about done with this ear. To be a little creative because my line's got a little wonky. All right, so gone back and connected my ear. And you know, there are some spots where you're going to be like, oh, I ended over here. So now where do I go? It's up to you if you want to cut it and restart it, or if you want to kind of just weave it to go down, weave it in the back to go down where you need to be next. I think I'm just going to be lazy and just weave it through here. So I'll weave it through a couple of the stitches in the back so that it's not flopping around. So I will end that one off there. And so then when I'm ready to go back, I can go back around there. All right, so the ears called for red. So again, make sure you don't do super long because it will certainly get tangled and that's super annoying. And again, we're going to take 2 strands off of here. That's annoying. I'm going to cut that right off. All right, so again, they come with 6. Split it out. So you have 2. I could have had this prepared, but then you would miss out on the joy of watching me struggle. All right, so I've got my 2 red here. And so what the satin stitch is filling in that area. And what you're going to do is you're going to fill in that area with stitches that are right next to each other. And so I'll show you what I mean as we go here. So what you'll do is start at the very end of one of your ear holes, the inside of your ear for a cat. So I got my end all knotted off there. And so what you're going to do is you're going to start at the very end of one of your ears. And I'm going to poke my needle in right next to, almost underneath that black back stitch that we did, right underneath the ear here. There we go. And I'm going to pull it over. And then I'm going straight up. So my back stitches are going to go up and down for this one. I'm wondering what it would look like if you went side to side. That might be interesting to do, but this is how I'm going to do it. And so then for the next one, I am going to go right back down, right next to it, just like touching the black as well as the red that I just did. So it is like right, you can't see the red very well. It is like right next to that. Pull it through, and then I'm going to go straight up, and I'm going to go next to it. So your 2 lines of red are touching, covering the whole area. And then we're going to go back down. Go back down, of course, all the way at the bottom. You're going to go right next to that black at the bottom because the ear goes all the way down. And right next to the red. And then when you come back up, make sure you're laying right next to the 2 that you just did. Right there. And then I'm going to go back down. So I'm going to do a couple of these, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. I always work better when I get shown.
Yep.
So here you go. You can start to see the red is filling in my area here. I got it all the way down at the bottom there. Oh, I got a mess. Okay. And like I said, satin stitch is not my area of expertise, so if yours doesn't look perfect, that's great because mine doesn't either. How's everybody doing? And try not to pull too tight. Just make sure that, especially when it gets longer, try not to pull too tight because then you're going to pull your fabric and it's going to cinch up and then you're going to have little bubbles in your fabric. Just tight enough where your thread is laying down, but not too tight. It's potty training. If you can hear that up there. Okay, so now you can really start to see it's filling in there. And every one I do fills it in a little bit more. Definitely not going to be perfect, but it's fun. All right, so I'm getting close to being done with my ear here. Yeah, it definitely is. I'm like, okay. Just trying to get it in there. You would think, oh, I just have to do them right next to each other. That's the thought. Yep. Like sticking out my tongue. Okay, just go right where I want you to go. Yes, next to each other is the hard part. The back stitch is easy, just keep going right along the line. Got a little knot in my back here, but that's all right. All right. And this is exactly why I tell you not to have too long of string. They'll knot up on you. You always wonder how it could knot up so bad. There we go. Fixed. All right. Just about done with my wonky stitched ears. Here we go. There's my little ear. So you want to do the same thing, of course, on the other side over here with that. But because I'm not going to sit on here the whole entire time we're stitching, I do want to show you the cheeks as well. It's basically the same thing satin stitch wise. So the round pink cheeks on your pattern are the satin stitch. And the nose, the circle black nose is also the satin stitch, but the line coming down with the little lip flaps, that's just back stitch. Forever I'm going to call them lip flaps now. But let us start with little cheekies. All right, so I will knot my end again. And normally I don't jump around like this, but I wanted to show you everything because it would probably take a couple hours to sit on here and finish this. There we go. So I'm going to start on the end of one of my little cheek circles, little cheeks. And I'll start doing my satin stitch here. So, get those straight lines right next to each other, but make it a circle. I'm absolutely not going for perfection today. I'm always in awe when people can whip out such beautiful embroidery. All right, I will show you what it's looking like now. It's not perfect, but here's my little cheek. I have no idea what I'm going to do with my little embroidery when I'm done. Make a little bag for Alexis or something. My lines got a little slanted. I lost my thread. There we go. All right, I'm back. Not back. Go. All right, I am almost done with my little cheek. All right. Here's my little cheek. So you can see they all line up right next to each other. So I showed you the back stitch. I showed you the satin stitch. Make sure you follow the make sure you follow the pattern. So both the ears need to be the satin stitch, the cheeks need to be the satin stitch, and the nose needs to be the satin stitch. Everything else is back stitched. And your little whiskers, you're obviously covering up those first little whiskers. So just refer back to the pattern for the very start of the whiskers, so that you get them and they go on top of your little cheek. Please show me them when you're finished. Post them on the activity. If you have any questions, I, of course, am always around. If nobody has any questions, I will end the stream. Hopefully my kids let me finish this tonight so that I can show it to you tomorrow. Have a good night. Stay safe. Stay inside and embroider tonight. Thank you. Bye.